everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and tonight I just got back from watching the new Ryan Coogler film, Sinners, with Michael B. Jordan and a whole lot of other people. And yeah, if you've seen the trailers for this, you could probably piece together what this movie is actually about. And apparently some of the marketing was trying to keep it a secret, but there was a late trailer that basically spoiled it. So I won't directly say it, I guess, until I get to my little spoiler section, which shouldn't be too long, but you know, I'll get to the spoilers. But anyways, just to say, this was a pretty cool movie. I wasn't entirely sure what to think going in. Was I gonna get more of an action-oriented movie, or is it going to be more of a drama piece? And the truth is, it's a little bit of both. You know, this movie definitely takes its time. Like, the whole first almost 2/3 go long without really what some people might consider the main event really going down. You get to know these characters, you get to care about them, you fully understand their place in life and what's actually going on, what led them to this moment. And that way, by the end of it, when decisions are made and things are happening, you know, you really care about everything that's going on. So I think that was pretty cool. I do feel like maybe that won't vibe with everyone. I feel like some people are gonna want to go into this thinking it's more of an action driven movie, and you know, maybe walk away a little disappointed that it's actually a lot more character based. And they do a lot of interesting things in this one as far as certain lore is developed, and again, I'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But they also introduce a lot of things, like how, you know, they open right up with like, oh yeah, music can be kind of a doorway to spirituality, and it can, you know, show you the spirits of the past and the future. And there is one really amazing sequence where, you know, it's not clear how literal you're supposed to be taking some of this. You know, there are some parts where it's like, oh, maybe maybe this is a little bit more literal than I thought it was. You know, I thought it was just more of a symbolic type thing. But in any case, it's a really cool sequence. And yeah, overall, I really enjoy the characters. There's a lot of powerful performances here. There's a lot of themes going on here that I you know, I'm gonna need to watch this movie several more times, and there's probably people who are a lot more capable of like breaking down the themes of this movie than I am, because, you know, we're covering everything from the Jim Crow era to you know, racial tensions obviously going on there, and then all the way to a lot of the crime that was happening even up north with what's his name, the gangster, the famous one. God, I can't. Is Jimmy Hoffa? No, who am I thinking of? Anyways, the point is, there's a lot of different themes and a lot of stuff being explored here, especially with music. And I would almost say this movie is almost like more about music than anything else, you know, like in a kind of weird way. But yeah, it's just a very cool movie, you know. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. There's a lot of, like, you know, almost musical segments, not in like the Joker 2 kind of way where they're really annoying, but in the like, hey, we're gonna take a second and we're gonna like just let this like almost, you know, minute long freaky music video thing happen, and it's gonna be really trippy and it's gonna be fun. So anyways, I really enjoyed this one. I definitely recommend going to see it. So let's go ahead and get into some spoilers. Okay, so that's your warning. Spoilers, here we go. We're gonna talk about it. Okay, so the big thing that a lot of you probably were able to figure out already, but, you know, I think they were trying to hide it. It's vampires. The villains of this movie are vampires. You know, and there is a lot of, like, you know, them trying to figure out what they're dealing with and them trying to figure out the rules a little bit. But once they establish that they're vampires, you know, they right away are like, okay, stake through the heart, got it. Now that we know what these things are. And they do some interesting things with vampire lore, like, you know, something I've always been a little confused by, and this has happened across all movies, and it does happen in this one, where it's like, okay, someone gets bit by a vampire, and then suddenly that person is evil and trying to attack everyone else. And I've never fully understood why that is, because otherwise the person still seems to have their consciousness, their, you know, they still act and talk just like the person they were a second ago before they got bit, and yet now they're evil. And I've never really understood why that is. This one introduces an interesting, like, hive mind type thing where they all have each other's memories, and so they're all like connected in that way. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I don't think I've ever seen anyone have like the, or at least not as like directly spelled out, like, oh yeah, we have each other's memories, I can speak this language because that person could speak it, and now I know everything that they do, you know. And I just thought that that was a really cool way of kind of explaining some of those things you see in these movies. Yeah, the action for the vampire killing, you know, like if you see the trailers and you walk into this and you think, oh, Michael B. Jordan's killing a bunch of vampires, it's like, he does, but that doesn't happen until, like, you know, we're like in the third act, you know, like that's when the big attack happens and everything kind of goes down. Up until then, it's a lot of build up, it's a lot of suspense, you know, like, you know, something's gonna go on, but it just hasn't quite happened yet. And again, it's not even like 1,000, 1,000,000 vampires. It's, you know, it's like 15, maybe 20, you know. And a lot of those are like just now turned vampires that were patrons of this club that they made. Another thing that they kind of do here, and this one felt a little like kind of out of nowhere. So they buy this club, they buy like this old, what did they say? It's like an old sawmill or something. And they turn it into a club for a night, and this is supposed to be like their grand opening. And, you know, obviously vampire attack, everything goes wrong. But then it's kind of revealed halfway through that, like, the person they bought it from is actually one of the leaders of the KKK, and he was planning to come back and kill everyone and take back the land, and that was like a whole plot. But, you know, of course, that night vampires happened, so, you know, like, and then at the end of the movie, once all the vampires are dealt with, Michael B. Jordan has to go out there and kill all the KKK for a second, and he ends up getting shot in the process of that, and that's how his character dies. And I don't know, that just felt like a weird add-on, you know, like like we have this entire movie building up to vampires and then finally dealing with them, and it's like, oh right, the clan, you know, like I don't know, I was like, oh right, I guess that feels like a separate movie, you know, like this, like the vampires felt like the movie that this was, and then they're like, oh right, okay, well, I guess we gotta deal with the clan now. I don't know, it was such a sudden, like, epilogue feeling thing that was at the very, very end. And then something else happens, and again, this kind of goes back to my confusion as to, like, what level of free will or what level of the same person you are when you become a vampire. And I recognize it's different for every movie, so I can't just like apply all rules to all movies, right? But at the end of this movie, so it's revealed that Michael B. Jordan's other brother, they're twins, one of them became a vampire, and the other brother could not kill him. He just couldn't bring himself to do it, so he let him live. And basically he just made the promise to not go after this kid that was making the music, the one that like called them all here through like breaking down the spiritual barriers and stuff, right? And I think he shows up decades later, still a vampire. They're in the 90s now, and the kid is an old man, and they kind of have like this reunion almost, you know, like they play music with each other, and they kind of hang out for an evening. You know, even though we just went through a whole movie where once you turn into a vampire, you're the bad guy and we're trying to kill you now. But I guess on a long enough time span, we're all good now. I don't know. And he seemed to mostly be acting as himself, even though he is a vampire. So now I'm like, is this just because like the main evil vampire died? Is he no longer under mind control or something? Or what is the deal there? I don't understand. Is he evil now, or is he not evil anymore because it's been so long? I don't know. That is one thing where I'm still kind of questioning, like, just vampire lore in general. Like, how much sense does this make? I don't know. Maybe I'm questioning it too much. Maybe, I don't know. It's not supposed to think about it that much, I guess. But in any case, yeah, we basically end the movie with only one person actually getting out of there, not a vampire, and also still alive. And they have this other kind of setup where his dad was a pastor and he was trying to get him to put down this music because you're gonna call the devil into your life, right? And I guess, you know, like, that's the sinners of it all, right? Like, he wants to play music and people who get drunk, I don't know, so there's something there. But anyways, he does not put away the music. You know, it seems like he's about to drop the guitar and give up his life of music, but obviously he becomes an old man and he's still playing the blues, and he's like a famous musician now, and so he doesn't listen to his dad and he still plays music. And that's, I don't know, that's where I'm a little foggy. I'm like, okay, but so what am I supposed to take away here? I don't get it. Like, the music is actually what ended up calling the vampires to your building, obviously not intentionally, but you know, but play music anyways, I guess. That's where I'm a little unclear as to like what the takeaway is, because in a weird way, I guess his dad was right? Like the vampires only showed up because he was playing his music in the club. So I don't know, maybe that's not what you're supposed to take away from it, but like, kind of in a funny way, that was what happened, right? So I don't know. Ultimately though, look, this is a cool movie. It definitely has at least like that ending segment in, you know, the big attack. It has definitely like Dusk Till Dawn vibes to it, you know, where it's like, oh hey, by the way, we're all trapped in this building, vampires attack, you know. Like, and that's kind of what you have here. So in that way, pretty cool. But like I said, if you go into this expecting just like a full-on action film where like, and I know the trailers had a lot of footage of Michael B. Jordan shooting, and he's like throwing grenades and he's doing all this cool stuff, that doesn't happen until like the end of the movie. Like literally like the last third of the movie is when all that happens. Up until that point, it's these two brothers being really cool, and they're interesting, and it's cool to learn about their lives and everything that's going on there, and it's really neat. But just don't go in here thinking that you're getting a John Wick vampire movie where Michael B. Jordan's shooting up the place. Like, that doesn't happen till the very, very end of this movie. So just know that, I guess. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about Sinners. It's getting a lot of good reviews, and a lot of people seem to be really hyped about it. I do just hope that this doesn't, like, I don't know, backfire, and a lot of people going like, oh, I thought we were getting like an action vampire movie, you know. And it's not, you know, it's definitely more of a character based story, you know. Like, it's not quite like just action. Like, you do get that promise you know, you get it delivered, but not until later. You gotta earn it, you gotta wait for it. So anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.